Hi there, I'm Clifford Bates, and welcome once again to Reading Aristotle's Nicomachean Ethics. Today we're looking in book chapter 6 for book 10, and then last chapter we kind of did the question of pleasures and the nature of pleasure. Now, um, he's now, I think, wrapping up this question of the way of life, right? The question of life. So let's look at chapter 6, right below, right there. Since what pertains to virtues has been stated, as well as what pertains to friendships and pleasures. So he ends he basically now clearly says we dealt with virtue, we dealt with friendship, and we dealt with pleasure. It remains to go and outline what concerns happiness, since we posit it as the end of human concern. So remember, at the beginning, all the way in the beginning of the ethics, Nicomachean Ethics, he introduced the question that happiness is the end, right? This is the true end of human action, activity, human concerns, and therefore we are left with dealing with what happiness is, right? For now, for now, those who take up again the points previously stated, the argument would be brief for now, right? So go back to that sentence. We take up what we've said earlier, but now let's go. We could take up what was previously stated. We said then that happiness is not a characteristic, for in that case it could be present even in someone asleep throughout his life, living living the life of plants, or to someone undergoing great misfortunes, right? So it's not an act. It's not a. It's not a characteristic. Okay, right. So if these consequences are not satisfactory, uh, uh, and one must instead posit happiness as residing in a certain activity, just as was said in what came before, right? And if some activities are necessary and choiceworthy for the sake of other things, whereas activities, whereas other activities are choiceworthy in themselves, then it is clear that one must posit happiness as being among the activities that are choiceworthy in themselves, and not for the sake of something else. In other words, there's two types of activities. There's activities that are ends in themselves and activities that are done for something else. And therefore, he's saying that happiness must be the type of activity that is that it is choice. It must be an end in itself, chosen for it, not for something else, right? But choice-worthy in themselves and not for the sake of something else. For happiness is in need of nothing, but is self-sufficient. Autarkos. In other words, it doesn't need anything else. It has enough. It is sufficient. It is sufficient. It has enough. Autarkos. And the activities choice-worthy in themselves are those from which nothing beyond the activity itself is sought. So therefore, these things are, in other words, nothing more than that. So the actions that accord with virtue are held to be of the sort. For the doing of beautiful, of noble, beautiful, and serious, bodios, things, spodios, right? Spodia, right? The doing of the noble and serious things. Notice it's not beautiful and good things. This is interesting. He doesn't say the beautiful and the kolos agathos. Here he talks about the kolos and spodios. Yes, let's go look. Let's go look in 5 and this. And this is, yeah, a 10, so to us 86 B10. Other words, it's for 5, right? Efficient for their own sake, noble and serious things is held to be among the things choice-worthy for their own sake, right? So again, let's read his line. He says that these activities choice-worthy in themselves are done from which nothing beyond the activity itself is sought. The actions that are in accord with virtue are held of this to be sort. But doing noble and serious things is held to be among the things most choice-worthy. Yeah, okay. Yes. It's not agathos kalos. So it's interesting that the choice here is not the kalos agathos, but kalos budaos, right? And that these serious things are held to be among the things choice-worthy in themselves. But so too are the pleasures of play. So wait a minute, play. So if these serious things, in a sense, these virtues, but the pleasures of play. For people do not choose these pleasures for the sake of other things. No, people are more harmed than benefited by them. People are more harmed than benefited by them when they neglect their bodies and property in pursuit of them, right? So play, the pleasures of play, does this. For people do not choose these pleasures on the sake of something else. And people are more harmed than benefited by them when they neglect their bodies and their property in pursuit of the play. And the many hoi polloi, the majority, the hoi polloi, the many, the hoi polloi of those demand, and the many of those deemed to be happy seek refuge in the refuge in such ways of life, of conducting one's life. The phrase attempts to capture the meaning of a single word, diagogue, hence the plural, diagogue. Its most literal meaning is carrying through, and it can have the extended sense of conducting one's life. It's a it's carrying through, to carry through something, but it can be in the extended sense of conducting one's life. Its way or course, hence the manner of passing time. Right? We decline to use traditional translation pastime chiefly because this term suggests trivial activities, whereas Aristotle proves to have in mind quite weighty and perhaps the weightiest activities for human being. And this is, see chapter 4:8 in Pickle note 33, or this dialogue. This is not pastime. Dialogue is not a pastime, it's something more serious. So they can seek refuge in this carrying through, this conducting one's life. Seek halfage in this way of conducting. The majority of those who deem the many of those deemed to be happy seek refuge in such ways of conducting life for pleasure, happiness, right? Play. Thus, those who have a certain charming dexterity in these ways are well regarded by tyrants, for they make themselves pleasant in the very things the tyrants are after. And such are the sort of people tyrants need. Therefore, these who like what? Pleasure. They like play. They like play. In other words, the pleasures of play. And this is the many. The many they're concerned with this idea of this way of life of play. It's interesting. The tyrant is this way of life. Like charming dexterity in these ways are well regarded by tyrants, and and they make themselves pleasant in the very things that tyrants are after, such as the sort of people tyrant need. These pleasures then seem to produce happiness, play, the pleasures of play, because those in position of authority devote their leisure to them. So therefore, we have this thing of happiness, but then we get this discussion of play. But the pleasures of play have this way, right? Play. Pleasures seem apt to produce happiness. Play does. Because those in positions of authority devote their leisure to them. But perhaps people of that sort are not proof of anything. Therefore, the people in power and authority, are not proof of this. For neither virtue nor intellect, nous, from which the serious activities arise, the spudaios activities arise, consists in the exercise of authority. So this is very interesting that the exercise of rule, and it's keros. Let's look at this for a second. I should turn off the thing for a second and do it, but we'll just put this on. '20. Yeah. I should have turned it off. Okay. So yes, I think they did good. They're not playing or anything here. So people of that sort are not. The tyrant is not necessarily people authority. Is ruling sort are not keros. Uh, Krata. Okay, yeah. Ruling authority. Those who have authority have position of authority. Well, this is going to be a pain. So therefore, because what? Those who have leisure to them. These people in authority are not the people who should take this. They're not proof of anything, for neither virtue nor intellect, from which the serious activities arise, consists in this exercise of rule of the tyrant. Now, I think we have to be careful. I think we have to be careful here. He's not talking about all rule. He's talking about the exercise of the tyrant, the ruling of a tyrant. So be careful. Don't generalize this about all rule, that this is not serious about rule. I think this is the problem. This. If we take this to mean all political rule, that political rule is not serious, it's something more serious. That's a way this could be read if you read it, because Aristotle's being kind of vague here. The question is, he's doing this because we know he's talking. Who is the audience? Are they political men, and why is he criticizing politics? Why is the vaguity? What is the vague? The I mean, Tessitore in his book on the ethics, who talks about the audience of the ethic, the Nicomachean Ethics, I think there is this question that the ethics is written more for the men of leisure, the poet, the people who are, because he uses poetry and things like this. The two audiences, the Eudemian ethics and the Eudemian ethics and the Nicomachean ethics, have really two different audiences. The Eudemian ethics, when you look at it, it always makes reference to the theoretical works, the topics, the physics, the things. whereas the Nicomachean Ethics makes much more use of the poets. So therefore, there is this sense that there's a different audience, and the audience here is not necessarily the scientist or those who are interested in that. But so that therefore, what is he saying here about this? He's talking about the tyrant here. The tyrant is like this person, and that this authoritative, that those who exercise authority. In other words, from such activities arise consist in the exercise of authority. And if they who are have not tasted pure free pleasures, 23. This is euthytheros. That's why liberal pleasures, but no, free. The pleasures marked by freedom, belonging to a free human being, right? That's why we say the liberal arts, right? The eleutherios. These pleasures, the pleasures of the eleutherios pleasures, seek refuge. Those who have not tasted pure and free pleasures seek refuge in the body pleasures, the bodily pleasures. One should not, on this account, suppose that such pleasures are more the choice-worthy ones. So, in other words, that there's a difference. And this is the use of the term "free" here is important because he's not making reference to rulers per se, but tyrants and those who ruling tyrannically, who exercising control, tyrannical control. And therefore the tyrant is one who was ruled by his bodily pleasures earlier, from Plato's Republic and other sources, that he's the base pleasures. He's not concerned with the noble and the good. He's concerned with his pleasures, his control of this pleasure is to do what he wants, do what his will wants, do what he wants, right? Not his will necessarily, because there's no will in a sense, but do what he wants, right? So we have a prop. Oh, we almost got interrupted there for a second. So the idea of the free person, the tyrant, is not the free person. Therefore, the reference to the free person, those who are free, right, euletheros, this the free people, versus the tyrant, the person who's enslaved by his own passions. In other words, that this is not. So those who have not tasted pure and free pleasure seek refuge in the bodily pleasures. One should not on this account suppose that such pleasures are the more choice-worthy ones. So the choice-worthy, those who are tyrants, are unfree. They rule over the unfree. They don't want free pleasures. They want the pleasures tied to the what? The pleasures of bodily pleasures. They're tied to their bodily pleasures. And therefore they have not tasted or know the free pleasures. Therefore you can't trust their judgment about this question of what in this sense is that, right? For children, in other words, the most choicey one, that no one should on this account suppose that such pleasures are more choice-worthy ones, the ones that the tyrants chose. For children too suppose what what is honored among themselves is most excellent, most best is best, is most excellent. So it's even children think that what they think is really best. So therefore, the mind of the tyrant is similar to that of the child. Um, so it is reasonable that just as different things appear honorable to children as to men, so also do they do so also do they to base human beings. A tyrant is a form of base human being, and to the decent, right? As has been said many times, then what is honorable and pleasant to a spudile, serious person, is such in fact. It is true. This is the true pleasurable. For each person, the most choice-worthy activity is the one that accords with the characteristic proper for him, And for the serious person, of course, that activity is the one that accords with virtue. So therefore, this is happiness. Therefore, does not consist in play. For it would be strange if our end were play, and if we exert ourselves and suffer bad things through the whole of life for the sake of playing. For we choose everything, so to speak, for the sake of something else, except happiness, for it is the end. And it appears that to be serious and to labor for the sake of play is foolish, and excessively childish. Now, the adjective childish, padikon, is closely related to play. The padia, and padikon, this is play. Adjective childish and what things that should will play, both have their rooted in the word child, payas, right? So the editors are making a point of the childish. This is a pun going on here. Aristotle's connecting the play with the child. The play is tied with the child, and therefore to take play as the serious thing, this is childish. But to play so that one may be serious as an anacrasis, anacharsis, anacharsis, among the seven wise men of Greek. Anacharsis was a Scythian royal prince of the 6th century who made his way to Athens and befriended Solon. See Herodotus's History 4, Book 4, Chapter 76, 77, as well as Diogenes of Laertius's 1, Book 1, and verses 101 and 2, right? This Acasis has it, seems to be correct. In other words, but to play so that one could be serious, as Anacrasis has it. This is correct. This is correct. For play resembles relaxation. So the true play right here. For play resembles relaxation. And because people are incapable of laboring continuously, they need relaxation, right? They need relaxation. They can't work forever. We have limits. Right? Relaxation then is not an end. It arises for the sake of activity. So relaxation, play is not an end. Play is for the sake of something. Play is for the sake of recovery. It's relaxation. So therefore, if you're going to be play so that one may be serious. So the end is not play, but play is necessary. Play because it helps relax, and because we need relaxation, right? We need to have play. And play is the mechanism to allow us to become serious, as he says, Anacrasis says, right? Relaxation then is not the end. It arises for the sake of activity. The happy life also seems to accord with virtue. And this is the life that seems to be accompanied by seriousness, but not to consist in play. In other words, this is the life of happy life is a life. At one level, it is, in other words, a life that is accompanied by seriousness, but not to consist in play. We also say that the serious things are better than those that prompt laughter and are accompanied by play, and that this, in other words, in other words, the serious things are better than those that prompt laughter and are accompanied by play. So therefore, things that prompt laughter and are accompanied by play. The serious things are better than things that prompt laughter and things that are accompanied by play. And the activity of the better part, or the better human being, is always the more serious one. So therefore, the play is only, in other words, the play is not an end. It's a means to make relax, right? It's to make us in a condition that we can return to the serious things. Play, in other words, play is not the serious thing, but play services the serious thing. Serious things. Play helps us relax, and we need to relax because we cannot be constantly active. So it serves activity. It's not the activity that seeks happiness. It's not, in other words, and the serious play is not, as he says, play is inferior to the serious things, as things that prompt laughter, as says, come by play. That the activity of the better part or the better human being is always the more serious one. The activity of what is better, moreover, is superior and so more apt to produce happiness. So the better activity, the activity of what is better, is superior and more apt to produce happiness. And any chance and any chance person, whatever, or even a slave, might enjoy the bodily pleasures no less than the best person enjoys them. So everyone can enjoy the body pleasures, but nobody attribute to the slave a share of happiness if he does not attribute to him a share even of his own life. In other words, the slave doesn't even control his own life. The slave cannot attain happiness. The slave is someone who is not his own, not his own. He has no control. He has no control of himself. He belongs to another. Okay, and his own life is not his or hers. It belongs to another. So how can a person who does not even have a share in his own life have a share of happiness? So the slave can have pleasure, but the slave cannot have a share in happiness. Right? The argument goes. For happiness does not consist in such ways of conducting one's life, those unfree ways of lives, but rather in the activities that accord with virtue, just as has been previously said. And that's how he ends the chapter on. He ends on the chapter of the saying that it ends with this idea of way of life, and the way of virtue is the way of a free human being, a free, and a person is not a slave. He is not subject to. Okay, this is a very important understanding how he ends the chapter. That therefore the happiness is that therefore it's not a play. Play is not to be understood as as happy, the way of life of this. So to understand the happy life, we have to see it cannot people assert that happiness is play and the pleasure you get from play is that, but it's not, because he makes the case that it cannot be the end. That in fact it's more of a means to an end, right? That we see what play does and what relaxation does. So we'll stop here. If you have any comments or questions, please put them below and I will respond to them when I see them. If you've liked the video, hit the like button, hit the thumbs up, give it, it helps the algorithm like this. If you liked it, share it far and wide, share it in your social media, share it wherever, and share it to your friends. Bring attention to the site. If you've not subscribed, please consider subscribing, and encourage, if you know others, to bring the site to their attention, our channel to their attention, maybe and have them go look at not just only this video, to go look at the whole play series on the ethics or any of the other playlists that we have in this channel. Encourage them to come check us out and to join. Okay, because again, by growing the channel, we get more attention and grow things. Right, that's a good thing. Another thing I want you to do is if you've want to follow me on social media, the social media links are below. If you want to check me out as a scholar and check my research and check my scholarship and check what I do, you can check the academic social media links below the social media links. And if you want to help contribute to what I do in this way, in a certain way, you can do so through the Patreon and Subscribestar links below, or you can do so because right now we don't have other means of doing this. I should maybe create some kind of drop me some money, please. Look, a link, because I'm not big enough a channel to have those functions yet on YouTube, like chats and things like that, but and gifs. But man, that's how it goes. So now you can do so that again through Patreon or Subscribestar, or you can buy one of my books, the 3 books listed, my public currently available books listed below. Please go to either your bookstore or your bookseller, local bookseller, or you can go online to an online seller like Amazon, Barnes and Noble, or Libris, or whatever, or you can go directly to the publisher and order them if you want. Some publishers will be better than others. Okay, that's it. We now turn to chapters. Next time we'll talk to chapter 7. Take care and have a good day. Bye bye.